Ethics, presented to you by the Cheesy Potatoes. So, what is ethics and what does it mean to you?
Well, ethics is the philosophical study of morality, a rational examination into people's moral beliefs and behavior. However, more narrowly, computer ethics or ethics in information systems concerns the morals and principles behind human and computer interactions.
So, why do we care?
Well, ethics govern our rights and obligations. They protect individuals from breaches of privacy, liability, and quality. Furthermore, they ensure companies are producing feasible levels of system quality whilst encouraging a concern of social consequences such as accessibility and sustainability. In short, ethics cover the five moral dimensions of the information age. These are information rights and obligations, property rights and obligations, accountability and control, system quality, as well as quality of life. Today, we'll be linking these ethical concerns to the following major issues prevalent in the modern age, such as business ethics, intellectual property,
What is
and big data.
deontological ethics?
Deontological ethics is concerned with the intentions behind actions to determine whether actions are considered right or wrong. This ethical framework is part of what is called normative ethics, which aims to find practical ethical answers.
What is a real life example that we can apply?
WikiLeaks is a good example. Despite the resulting dangerous government conflicts and political strain, the intention of transparency was morally right.
So, why do we care about deontology?
The internet isn't regulated, so ensuring individuals act ethically will depend on the internet cohort that surrounds them. What is corporate social responsibility?
For many years, corporations were only concerned about making money, and that was the ultimate goal. Now, companies are also concerned about implementing CSR into their business model, that being corporate social responsibility and engagement with social welfare and utility.
How does this relate to ethics?
CSR is a subset of business ethics, making system quality and quality of life synonymous. Having this long-term business foresight results in positive externalities. It is a thought that if a company helps society as a main goal, they will reap success. Companies can look to solve society's problems by creating a product or performing a service to fulfill a need, and they will profit and help the world.
What are some examples of implementing corporate social responsibility?
The makeup brand The Body Shop is an example of a company focusing on environmental CSR. They have decreased their ecological footprint and subsequently aided environmental protection programs. Another example would be ice cream maker Ben & Jerry's, who pride themselves in supporting local charities. Ben & Jerry has been donating a full 7.5% of pre-tax profit to different charitable institutions. Furthermore, their use of certified fair trade ingredients illustrates their commitment to CSR's ethical labor practices element. Sustainability's forward thinking revolves around creating new products that in the long run will create improvement over time in terms of society's quality of life. So what is big data and how does it relate to ethics?
Big data is a term that describes a large volume of data that can be analysed for insights. Law and regulations guide organisations. However, recent advancements in analytics and big data technology has widened the gap between what is possible and what is legally allowed. Within this gap are new ethical questions around what is acceptable. And by 2018, for example, 50% of business ethics violations will occur through improper use of big data analytics.
So why should we care about it and what are the risks for us?
The first risk is that anonymization could be impossible. Large data sets are often subjected to anonymization process to enable the data to be used for marketing or scientific research. However, no useful database can ever be perfectly anonymous. Re-identification is a process where bodies of low-sensitive data, when correlated, can often result in a set of data that has much greater significance than the original data sets. Imagine you participated in an anonymous scientific study and your data is re-identified. This actually happened in 2013 when a Harvard professor re-identified the names of 40% of participants in a DNA study. The second risk concerns many consumers using social media or internet-based services carelessly, however, allowing others to make use of information in unintended ways. Think about the number of times when you accepted terms and conditions without reading it, or when you publicize your location on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Companies face reputational damages if consumers feel their trust and confidence have been breached. Real-life cases concerning ethics and why should we care?
Well, one of the biggest issues is the problem of accountability and control, which is determining who is held accountable or liable for harm to individuals, breach of collective information, and property rights. A recent case where accountability is questioned is the Dallas Buyers Club piracy case, where copies of the film were illegally downloaded in Australia. The whole case involved the company trying to force ISPs to hand over details of the users who torrented the movie, but in the end, the court determined that DBC's request was unjustifiable. Knowing this, we then ask ourselves, who is responsible for the illegal downloading of content? The users who downloaded the movie, or the internet service providers who is allowing it to happen?
What you've mentioned is just seeing who is responsible. How does breaching ethics directly affect us?
Sometimes companies can actually act unethically and use information systems to collect data on users, which can influence their way of life. Facebook has recently been involved where they breached ethical guidelines by exposing users to a private study without their consent. This involved collecting information on whether subtle changes on news feeds affected the emotions of users. This is a highly concerning ethical issue, as Facebook's use of their information technology can affect people on a personal level. It is essential that companies incorporate ethical values and policies to protect consumers, as mentioned earlier, when using information technology. This is to prevent breaches of ethical rules such as invasion of privacy and consent like Facebook did. So what is intellectual property?
Intellectual property is defined as the property of your mind or proprietary knowledge. Basically, the productive, new ideas you create. It can be an invention, literary and artistic works, names and images. These inventions or creations can be separated into two main categories, those being industrial property and copyright. Industrial property is what would concern many businesses and industries. It includes patents of inventions such as a new phone or a technological device. Industrial designs are also included in the industrial property. Copyright would involve more artistic creations such as novels, films, and music. When an author creates a new book or a musician creates a new piece of music, it would be protected by copyright.
So how does the concept of intellectual property affect us?
It is quite often that many businesses have to deal with theft of knowledge for an employee or corporation. The motive of these actions is almost always money. When an employee commits theft of knowledge, he is actively violating signed agreements such as non-disclosure agreements or confidentiality agreements. The concept of IP also allows certain manufacturers to gain market dominance for the products they create. In cases where the product is something like a medicine required for someone's survival, a company may overcharge for this product. This creates what many would view as an unethical circumstance.
So how might we protect intellectual property?
Before we get to the stage where NDAs are signed, we must determine how an individual or corporation may benefit us before sharing knowledge with them. Information should then be shared on a need-to-know basis. Overall, we are presented with the fact that an element of trust is involved in intellectual property. When sharing information, we must assume or judge that the party or parties we are sharing information with have no malicious intent and are following an ethical code of conduct.